So it's Nobody Asked Us, presented by TCS with Des and Kara. I'm joined by Des. This is the first time we've ever recorded in the morning. Des, how are you doing?
I'm a little under the weather. No, that's my first words of the morning, so they're gonna smooth out as we go. I think maybe not. My eyes are barely opening up. I'm still dealing with the allergy thing, so glasses. It feels very. It's a Monday morning. You're gonna listen to this on Tuesday, but this is gonna have Monday morning vibes. I think. How are you
Totally
doing?
Monday morning vibes. Yes.
Literally.
I did get up and did a 3-mile run simply because, basically because it was going to be morning and I wanted to look semi and sound semi awake. But now that I saw you and especially Chris, I know I could have just rolled in and it would have been fine.
It's like hair everywhere. Yeah, no. This is a low-key operation. Never feel like you have to present yourself in a certain way.
We're about as low-key as it gets. Yeah, just so everyone knows, because I have people that say, I love how much thought you and Des put into the podcast. We really don't. And
it's all going to go out the window today.
Yeah, please stop telling us that we're doing a good job, because we're not. We're just showing up, and you're going to see that a little bit today.
I'm taking us to the end before we even get there, but just want to put this on your plate while it's on my mind. I feel like, do you follow, I think it's We Rate Dogs?
Yeah.
And
on Twitter.
And at the end of like the week, he comes on and he has a thing. It's like the top 5 dogs of the week. We could, if you like this, end every episode with like top 5 of the episode, whether it's related to the episode or just 5 things like we come together and liked that week.
Okay.
So that way there's like some finality, right? Because we're always like, all right, let's I guess it's an hour. Let's shut it down.
We can do I was like, do you want to say anything else? No. Okay. Bye. Thanks.
Yes, shut it down.
Okay, I like that. Let's try to remember to do that.
Yeah. We don't have to do it. I just came up with that, and it's Monday, so there's not a lot of top 5s yet.
Yeah,
we'll think
true.
We'll
think about it. Okay, so what's new with you? You have visitors?
I do. Yeah, we have my sister and her husband are in town, and I'm in their space right now, so it's very nice of them to move out of the room while I podcast. And they're from the West Coast, so it's really early for them. They're like, should we pull our running stuff out? Like, how long are you going to be? I'm like, you guys are just going to drink coffee.
Yeah, you're not doing anything. Be real.
Yeah. So it'll be like a whole week with them. And then we had Venetian Festival is a big thing in Charlevoix, and they do the Drenth Memorial 5K, 10K in the Ryan Shea Mile. So 2 up north icons that passed away far too early are kind of celebrated in those races. And so they had the mile this weekend, and Charlie Lawrence, my buddy, ran that, and he's like a pure marathoner. He's like, I just want to get out there and like have some fun in Charlevoix, so I'll run the mile. Like, man, you're crazy. But he ran really well. He was like 4:11, ran pretty smart for a marathoner tackling the mile, and then like in the last quarter he was really competing. Like,
that's cool.
Making some moves and stuff. So I was pumped for him, and he ran a little mile PR. So that was exciting.
So why is the Ryan Shea Mile there? Is he from there?
He's from East Jordan. So it's pretty close by. And that's where they have the big festival. So they just tacked it right on to the Jeff Drenth.
That's awesome.
Other distances, and then the Ryan Shea Mile. Yeah. And his parents, I don't know if they get out anymore, but they used to come out and watch and kind of support. And it's been about 8 to 10 years now that they've done it. So pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like part of the community. You go down and cheer people on. You're like, not going.
No, I always run one of the races, like whether it's just to run it or whatever. Like I had to do a workout this year. So I did 2 miles at marathon pace, a mile easy, and 3 miles at marathon pace. Yeah. And it's always super hot. And my coach is like, you can do the 5K or the 10K. If you do the 5K, just do 3 miles hard and like 1 as a warm up or whatever. And every time I sign up for the 10K, and then there's like the turnaround point where it's like 5K this way, 10K, keep going farther. I see the turnaround. I'm like, I picked the wrong race. It's so hot, and like there's just like exposed, but it's fun.
Is your coach in town for that?
He is. He actually lives like 6 miles from me. Which is really funny. He's grew up in Charlevoix, and his the Jeff Drenth Memorial is for his brother. So he's
Yeah.
always up here, and then they host the milers with a big party. And he's like, "Are you going to come over for the party?" I'm like, "Coach, I didn't actually like host anyone or participate in any way like helping this, so I feel bad crashing the party."
I'm sure everyone would be happy to have you, though.
Drop off the puppy or something. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, are we talking now that we should hold the puppy talk maybe?
yes, let's hold puppy talk because there's a
Okay.
lot of it. So if you don't like puppies,
This is not the episode for you.
now's your time to
Shout out to one of my best
check
friends,
out.
Sarah Baldwin. This might not be the episode for you if you're not an animal fan.
I don't know.
But yeah.
I think if you're interested in training partners,
Yeah.
this is a 4-legged one. So a little spin there.
Okay, well, while you've been enjoying new puppy life,
yeah.
I got COVID.
Yeah, how did this happen? I feel like COVID is like, to me, I kind of think of mono. I'm like, what did you do to get this? Who were
Oh, I
you very
know.
close to?
No, and then I passed it
Okay.
on to people, so I feel like
course.
extremely guilty. So I rode from Eugene. We wrapped in Eugene. I was on a red eye, and I rode from Eugene to Portland with a coworker who had no idea that he had COVID. And I got back on a Monday. We had friends from Boulder here. We're hanging out, breathing all over each other. And on Tuesday, we're out on the water, and he's like, "Hey, do you feel okay? I just tested positive for COVID." I was like, "Oh, crap." I was like, "I feel fine." So I tested that night. I tested Wednesday morning, negative, no signs. Went out to dinner with my family, sat next to my sister, talked to her. Thursday, tested again, feel fine. Thursday night, I started to get this horrible fever. Friday morning, positive. I couldn't even talk. I completely lost my voice. I
That's
woke up and
right.
I was like, "Yeah, I got it. I definitely have the vid." Like,
It's finally hit.
yeah.
Ah,
And so, yeah, I was really sick. And the only fun part was that my doctor, shout out to Coco Doogie, who's a 100-mile runner. She races 100-mile races. She's totally actually insane, but I love her so much. I did a telehealth with her to see if there was anything I should be doing for the COVID. And she was like, we talked about, medical stuff. And then she's like, "Well, now that I have you, I just have to tell you, I love you and Des." She's like, "Don't change anything. I love the music at the beginning. I love that it's not polished. I love everything about it." So that was actually really cool. She gave us a shout out. So shout out
I
to
love
her.
that. Yeah, not polished indeed.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling? And like, how did the symptoms roll on? Because I don't.
Have you had COVID?
I had it once, but it was like I still ran every day, and it just was like, oh, we'll watch some movies on the couch instead of like go out and do stuff.
So I got it.
But this sounds terrible.
In May of 2022, there was an outbreak in Colt's classroom, and we got an email from the principal. And on a Monday morning, we got an email from the principal on like a Friday, like, we should mask up again in 5th grade. Some kids have COVID. Monday morning, he woke up and said he was sore. And I was like, "You've been playing football." And then I was like, just because of that email, had him tested and he had COVID. And then it was like scary because we had avoided it for 2 years. My grandpa died of COVID. And so he was like scared. And Adam's like, "We have to just lock him in his room." And I was like, "We can't do that. He's
Light some food under the door.
Yeah. He's like, was so scared. And they were supposed to go on this field trip, and Adam was a chaperone. So anyway, basically he and I moved into the guest room. He got better, sent him off on his field trip, or like they spent a couple nights up in the mountains, and then I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really sick for like 2 days. I didn't run at all for like 4 days maybe. This one was worse. Actually, I had a fever of like 102 for 5 days in a row. When it was in the guest room here, one night I was like coughing so hard, and I took my temp and it was like 102.7, and I was like, "I'm going to die." And my husband and son are here and I'm going to die. So anyway, I didn't run at all for 6 days. And that my doctor too was like, "Don't be dumb. I know you're obsessive like me, but don't be dumb. Be smart." So anyway, I'm crawling out of it. And I did pass it to my sister.
Of course.
And then I passed it to Colton, who had very mild, just a fever. He had a fever for 5 days, but it was low grade. So
do you think there's like a like you're becoming tolerant to it, or you're like get like immunity that's being built? Like, do you feel like it's getting less? I mean, you just said it got worse this time, but like,
yeah, I just think that me and COVID don't get along.
Yeah.
Like
some history.
There's, like my son, it barely affected him both times. He had a fever. He took Tylenol. He felt fine. And like, I don't get really sick, I train through everything. But I don't know, whatever it is, me and COVID, we are not friends. So I've had it twice now, in a year and a half, and I feel like I'm good. Thank you so much. I do
Yeah,
not want to
we're all
get it
set.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are good. So yeah, it's crazy. Like you think like we've just moved on, right? Like we are all people got vaccinated or boosted and all this stuff, but it's
Right.
like it's still there. It's still lurking. So I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't sound pleasant.
No.
I actually think in early 2020, I had it before the trials. Because I either that or I had like the world's most gnarly flu, which the flu was probably bad that year. Um, but that's probably like one of the worst flus I've ever had, where it was like I feel like I'm coughing up sand.
Yeah,
And
you probably had it.
yeah, it was like before it was a thing, which is it's kind of like serves me right because we were at this event, um, and like shaking all these hands as people flew in. I did a speaking thing and then a group run in the morning, but like it was sort of like you just started hearing about it and we were kind of making fun of it. Like someone would sneeze and we'd be like, "Oh no!" Like,
Yeah.
and then I got super sick the next day. So serves me right, I guess.
I know. I remember how we would all, I was joking about it too. I had done I was at the not the running event, but some running conference in Las Vegas. And there were all these signs, Chinese New Year. And I got like a little sore throat while I was there, which is, that's what happens to me when I'm like overly tired.
When
And we
you're
were
in
like,
Vegas,
oh, yeah. And it was
right?
like, oh, I got the COVID-19. Ha ha. Like it's not funny, Kara. It's not,
Right.
it's not
Lessons
funny.
learned.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
I
probably
apologize.
why I suffer from the wrath of COVID, but I'm a lot better. So I just hope I really
And
don't want to get it again.
I wanted to bring this up on the last episode, which we had so many things going on that I forgot. But you had to cancel fast. Is it Fast Friday? Fast Girl Friday?
Fast Girl Friday. Yeah.
Fast Girl Friday. Can you tell us a little bit about Fast Girl Friday? Because I think it's really
Oh,
cool.
yeah. So there was a high school race and I was kind of following it. I wasn't watching it, but I was loosely following it because they had a shot for multiple boys to go under 4 minutes in the mile. And I thought that was really cool and really interesting. And I wasn't watching the race. I was just following it on social media. And I just thought it was only a boys race. I had no idea that there was a girls race. And so later that night, my old teammate, Billy Nelson, his daughter had run there and he posted about it. And I was like, wait, what? There was a girls race? So then I went back and saw that, yes, they had a few girls and boys races. And I don't know, I think we talked about it on here. I kind of went crazy. I was like, how do I not know about this? How are we only reporting on the boys? And so I just was like, I'm going to start this thing called Fast Girl Fridays where I'm going to talk to high school girls and just promote them in my own little way. And so I've only done it 3 times. I did it twice, and then I was calling Luzon, and then I was at US Nationals, and then I had 3 girls lined up 2 Fridays ago, and I woke up and couldn't talk. That was the day I tested positive for COVID. So they'll be on this coming Friday, but it's been fun just to talk to them and just give them a little shout out because there's nothing wrong with the boys getting press. I actually think it's great, but just because the girls don't have this perfectly round 4-minute number, it's like people were arguing with me on Twitter. Well, it isn't as exciting. And I'm like, well, that's
Let's make
actually, yeah. And also like maybe stretch your mind,
right.
if
Should
you,
be.
yeah, like you should, if you're a hardcore fan, you should be able to understand how hard also 437 is. Like,
Right.
come on.
Shaped a little different.
Right. Just a tiny bit different. And,
Yeah.
and then, people were arguing with me that girls just aren't as fast and isn't as deep. And I just, that kind of stuff is like nails on a chalkboard to me. So I thought instead of complaining, I will actually talk to some of these girls and try to change the game a little bit that way. So that's what Fast Girl Fridays is. So it's
Yeah.
not every Friday, but every couple Fridays I talk to some high school girls. Some of them are crazy fast. Some of them are normal fast and the whole variety. It's been really fun.
That's cool. I think it's really interesting and important and just, I know cool is not the right word, but that's what I'm going to use, that you see a problem and then find a way to fix it instead of just seeing a problem and talking about the problem.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of what
yeah,
social media is like a lot of complaining.
right.
And I can do that too. I'm really good at it.
But it's like, hey, this is the next step and whatever the reach is, the impact is, yours is probably higher than most people's because you have a really big following. So that's great.
Thanks.
But also to do it is like it just sends a good message. So kudos
Well,
to you.
thanks, Des. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And if anyone's not following Kara on social, I don't know
Follow
how
me
you
at
heard about this.
karagoucher.com. Yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
you heard about this podcast, but you should follow her on Fridays. On all
Yes,
days, really.
definitely. All days, but Fridays especially.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so do we want to jump into okay, no, you go. You
No,
seem
I
ready.
think maybe we're going to the same place because I think this is a natural segue into like criticism.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to
Let's
talk
do
about
it.
puppies, which are not
Let's
about
do
criticism?
criticism first and then talk about our puppies.
Okay.
So, I was running today and I just was thinking about how when you have some success and then you're willing to sort of like share your journey with people, it comes with a lot of criticism. And I was thinking of all the different ways in which I've been criticized over the years. And I thought, oh, Des has to have felt this too. Actually, I mean, I know you have because you talk about a little bit of it in your book. So I just thought it would be interesting for people to hear our perspective of what it's like to kind of share, have big goals, try to do things that doesn't always work out, and then have all these random people tell you suck.
Like weigh in on it, right?
Yeah, weigh in on it. Yeah. So I don't know how we want to start, but I just thought it could be an interesting little chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. My journey was very different than yours because you were at the top level for a long time before social media even came into play. Like, did you experience that type of criticism prior to social media? Was it like a media critique, like, here's my article, but I'm going to insert my opinion and my analysis of how that run went? Like, did you experience that, or has it been a big shift to like, okay, now I have a platform and people can talk to me directly, and so they tell me whatever they want?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. So the first time I really felt criticism was in '07. I used to go to this website called letsrun.com and I won a medal at the World Championships and I was like so excited. And then I'm on there and then it's like, oh, she has to be doping. And it was like, wait, what? Um and it was just crazy. It was like people just saying things as fact about me that weren't true at all. And so that was my first like little taste of like, ooh, ick. I don't like the way this feels. So I stopped going to that website. But then in '09, and again, this is before I had social media, in '09, when I said out loud that I wanted to win the Boston Marathon and I didn't. And then I was crying afterwards. And I don't even know if they still do this because, like I said, I stopped going to every place where I could see the criticism. Runner's
Mhm.
World would write a story, and then you could have all these comments you could write.
Right.
And people were like, what a crybaby. She's spoiled, And so it was like that feeling again of like, I'm already disappointed. And then, oh my gosh, people are judging me, like even though I left my heart out there.
Right.
But now like I'm getting even more criticism. So I think those two instances like really stand out to me as me being kind of shocked.
Yeah.
It's something that you worked so hard for and you were really open about how much you wanted it. And then you just got piled on. But social media has been like a whole new adventure. They have direct contact right into you. And so that's a totally different beast.
Yeah, I think that's like a Let's Run forum. People can kind of chat all the time. And if you want to seek out those opinions, they're always there. But it's like most people are like, I'm not going to gain anything from this. So I'm just going to avoid it. And that seems to be the best tactic. Is from our perspective, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And then comments as well. It's like, okay, well, this is, I've raced, or here's this result, or here's this moment. And then it can be critiqued or praised. Social is like, I've had this thought on my run and I'm going to share it. And then people can weigh on like anything. Like it's just an opportunity to put yourself out there more frequently and in different ways, which thus creates more chances for criticism directly to you and then in those other avenues as well.
Yeah.
So like now there's more ways to like get to you. But here's a question for you. How many, like when you really think about it, how many of the replies were really great?
Oh, way more. It's like 95% positive and 5% negative, but those are the ones that like click in my brain,
Yeah.
And that's what Adam gets. There's been times where it's really bad, like a pile on. It happened earlier this year. I actually ended up deleting a post, but in general, it's just like 3 or 4 people that just like won't let it go. And Adam's always just like, why do you care? They're so pathetic, But I think it's, I don't like knowing that there's this like hatred. But then of course, like as I've gotten older and I'm gotten more used to it, it's like it doesn't bother me the way it used to. Sometimes it does. Like I said earlier this year, it was like, okay, I feel like I'm being really misunderstood here, and I don't have the energy to do this and keep trying to explain myself. But then there's a part of me that's like, I shouldn't have to explain myself. Like we all have flaws. We all are who we are. And I'm just sharing it with people. And if you don't like it, like unfollow.
That's always an option. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I posted something, this is years ago, about love wins. And I can't remember, like people, that was a pile on. It was not 95.5. It was very, very negative. And people were writing, where I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were a nice person. And that time I didn't have the reaction of like, oh wait, no, you're misunderstanding me. I was like, bye.
Yeah.
You're imagining that I'm a person that I'm not. I am actually a very welcoming and accepting person. And if you didn't know that about me, like that's actually on you, not me. So there are certain times where it does not bug me at all. Where I'm like, good. I'm glad that you're going to unfollow me. I'm glad you're disappointed. Clearly in real life, we would not get along.
Were not. Yeah, totally. This is not a good pairing.
Yeah, but there are other times where I feel like I got, I was misunderstood in an interview or something like that. And then I feel like, well, I want to explain to them what actually happened, but it's pointless.
Yeah.
And you don't owe it to anyone.
It's also like trying to make everyone happy. Usually you end up not saying what you want to say, right? You're like compromising a little bit of yourself to appease everyone. It's like, well, that's not actually what I feel or what I think. I'm just trying to make people happy. I used to do this thing on Twitter called Refinement Friday, which I would just, like most people would do, Follow Friday. And it was sort of unofficial, but I would like post something slightly edgy. And I would gain like a lot of new followers and then lose like a good, like, it was a percentage. It's probably a wash in the end. But I was like, well, these people get me a little bit better if they can appreciate this. These people maybe were time to go anyhow. So
give us an example. Give us an example.
Goodness, it's been a long time. I don't know what day the Salazar tweet was on with the backpack, but that would have been like a very clear Refinement Friday where like, okay, bye-bye.
That was my favorite tweet you've ever made.
See, we've sharpened the follower list. If you're still here after that. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw criticism of you on a message board or in a comment section or on social? Do you remember? Like I clearly remember that time in 2007 being so excited and so happy and then just feeling like so hurt and sad.
Yeah. I think I was actually, I read message boards in high school and stuff like that, but I was never good enough to like factor, like in the comments. And I read Let's Run back in the day. And when I was just getting on the Hansons, I ran my first race and had a stress fracture in my foot. I found out afterwards, but it was like this, obviously a terrible race. And I remember people being like, why is she being on like as a professional runner? This is such a waste of money. Like she's never going to make it. And it kind of made me laugh. I was like, I'm going to save this one so that one day I could be like,
yeah.
But then like, as I got, I think better and better, there was probably at some point like well, she must be a doper, which was like, okay, now I know I'm really running well, but also that's probably time to like turn this page and not be here anymore, because then you see the evolution of like when she gets to that point, like it's all like downhill. It's a weird thing. Like you kind of wonder about the fans of the sport in that space that are just like, they're really into it. Like there's super knowledgeable people that are on those boards, but then there's like major negativity. Like I wonder if you did that same percentage of like what are the comments that are helpful versus what are the comments that are negative, like how that would weigh out. Because I think somewhere like Let's Run, it would probably be significantly higher in the negative space. And those are like the hardcore fans who, you want them to celebrate the athletes or be excited for them. Like those are the people like that make the sport happen. And then when you look at it as a dying sport, when you see like the crowds getting smaller and smaller, it's sort of like, well, maybe this isn't what people want to hear all the time. I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to pair that together, but I do feel like that core is the most knowledgeable, but the most negative.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like they're very excited when someone's coming up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's exciting. What could they do? They're going to make it. It's going to be so great. And then it's like you're climbing. They support you. What a great story. We love this. They're not, they're not a diva. They've had to work so hard. They're loving it, loving
Yeah.
it, loving it. And then you reach this level of success, which they were hoping for you, and you were obviously hoping for yourself. And now everything's different.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are allowed to nitpick your interviews. Now they're allowed to nitpick your sponsor choices. Now they're allowed to nitpick, how you raced, how you trained. And it's just bizarre to me. It's like 6 months ago, you were the biggest fan. And now I can't do anything right. It's like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. And that's like the hardcore people who follow, which is frustrating because you're like, why? I think of it as like when you find a band and no one else has heard of them, you're like, they're awesome, this is so good, they're going to be amazing, I love the music, like this person's style, and then they get like the big record deal, like, oh, they sold out.
Yeah.
Like, but that's the goal. Like that's the goal, is to make it big, and sometimes you have to change a little bit, or the requirements are a little bit different, but doesn't mean you're selling out. It's still the same thing. But I feel like that's kind of the vibe I get. It's like, they had a moment, so they're obviously a sellout.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But we
It's
want
like,
the sport to be big. We want it to be in major news outlets. We want it to get on the ESPYs or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean a sellout. That's a good thing for the sport. So it's this weird contradiction.
It is. Have you ever like promoted something on your social media that people criticized you for? Like a product or
Probably.
anything?
Probably.
I love that you're just like, I definitely take things way too personally. And like I just was in conversations with a potential partnership, and even though it would be extremely authentic to my life and how I grew up and how I live, I knew that it would be controversial to some people, and I just was like, I don't have the energy to do this. Like, I don't have the energy for the comments that might come.
Is it like toe separators?
Yeah, it was toe separators.
They're very hot topic.
You're such a sellout. Oh,
why would you want perfect feet? Are you going to get on Fans Only?
Money.
Only Fans?
Kara needs money. She's doing toe separators. But yeah, it's just it's disappointing. I mean, and part of that's my own issue, because I'm just like, I don't want to deal with the negativity that comes with that.
Sure.
But I really just don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? This would be authentic, and my son and I are going to keep living our lives the same way, which would endorse your product, but I don't want to hear it from the peanut gallery. Have you ever written on someone's social, I'm so disappointed, or unfollow?
You know what a really great tool is on Instagram? I'm going to give you a little hack here, because I think this is one of the best things ever. You can actually go to a person's page that follows you and make them unfollow you.
What?
So I've done that before. Like, yes, you're no longer following me. Yeah.
Did you block them? Or you just...
No, you can actually just, like, you don't have to block them or anything. They can just unfollow you. Like, you can be like, this person requests to have them unfollow me, and then they'll not follow you anymore. And they don't know, because they think that you're, you know what I mean? Like, you just stop showing up in their feed. You lose one follower.
Well, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've been at the same amount of followers for like 3 years anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, what's the
that's
product?
another thing.
You got to tell me afterwards, because I want to know.
I'll tell you afterwards. No, I would take that in a heartbeat. I don't care if it's controversial.
She's too warm in there.
Yeah. Did you ever worry about amount of followers or trying to grow your following?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, there's something about gaining traction and having that in negotiations and being like, this is the trend and this is the views I get. I think that there's value in it. But I also like, I like stats in general. So like, I like to see the analytics and the numbers, and like when it goes up, what makes people tick, what people like unfollow. But I don't necessarily play by the rules once I know them. Like people will unfollow when I post my dog. But I'm like, he's fucking cute. Like he's going to be on there a lot. And like I don't care, but then it's also like, okay, well, something inspirational is definitely going to get. So like if I lose enough followers with dog photos, then I'm like, okay, I better post something inspirational and then like kind of balance it out. But I don't
Yeah.
put too much thought into it, to be honest. Even
Yeah.
though I do like seeing the numbers. I'm like, that's so weird. Why do people like that? You know?
It is so weird what people like and don't like.
Do you check
And
out your analytics? What's your best day? What's
no,
your best time frame?
I have no
What's your
idea.
hottest hour?
I don't know. No,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't do that. The only times that I've like seen thousands of followers go off has been anytime I have posted something semi-political. But usually I feel so strongly about it that I'm like, bye.
Yeah.
But I have had
Fair.
times where I posted something and lost like 4,000 followers in one day. This was a few
Yeah.
years back. But I was like, wow,
Hot
I
button.
really didn't like that. Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Especially on Facebook. That's why I stopped going. People were like, I came here to hear you talk about sports. And if you're not going
Stay
to
in your
stick to
lane.
sports, I'm leaving. Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I don't even race anymore. So I'm not allowed to have an opinion on who I'm going to vote for.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
Then the
mean,
sport people are like, you don't race anymore. So why could you? Oh, you can't have an
yeah,
opinion on sport. Like you can't win.
yes, you can't win. No.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a good segue to who makes you feel happy when you're having a bad day when someone's mean on social media. And I'm not talking about people.
Wait, what?
Your dogs.
Oh, it's like
You're like, that was
Ryan?
a really weak segue.
No, it was good. It's true. Yeah, I think we one of them has an Instagram account, Golden Boston. Our golden retriever Boston. He's always happy. And then we got the new pup Rivers. So he's just this little potato. He looks like a fuzzy potato. And I'm trying not to call him Potato because I don't want him to think that's his name. Like, but the potato's sleeping. The potato's taking a pee outside. Yeah, those guys are super fun and crazy how pets like just enrich your life. For me, anyways.
Yes.
And you
And I
have
love this about you. I just like, it kind of, it just endears you to me. Did you grow up with pets?
No, we were not allowed. They were like fake allergic, but they're like, you're not going to
Yeah.
clean up their poop. Like, we travel too much. Yeah, our parents wouldn't do anything fun. They're like, no pool, no pets, no fun.
Okay. So when did you get your first pet?
Ryan had his golden Miles. He got Miles with an ex-girlfriend, so he was like my little bastard child.
He was
See, we're gonna get some unfollows there. But he's, he came from a broken family. I took him in and I loved him like he was my own. Super sweet golden. And then we got Atlas together in 2009, actually right before the World Championship. So he's like kind of this parallel to an era of my career. Like the very first time I broke 230, we had like just gotten him. And then he passed away this spring. So he was almost 14. That's a good stretch for a pup.
Yeah.
And a good stretch for a respectable career.
Yeah.
And you have a bunch. Who's in your pet family?
We have 2 cats and 2 dogs. We have Freya and Luna, our dogs, both
Okay.
girls. And then we have Finn and Sydney, which are cats, a boy and a girl from the same litter. So they're
Fun.
brother and sister. Yeah.
Do they still act like brother or sister? Like, were they always just like, we're a pair?
Yeah, they're always together, always.
That's so
And
funny.
we've always had 2 cats. So Adam didn't really grow up with animals. I did. My family
Okay.
is nuts. We've always had more pets than people. And of all of my sisters, I have the least amount of animals.
Okay.
My mother lives alone and has 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Nice.
My sister had 5 dogs and 2 cats for a while. She's down to 3. And then my little sister has a dog, 2 cats, 4 goats, a pony, a horse, like a million things, right?
Yeah.
So we're just kind of like, we're crazy. And I know it. People are, I get it. It's weird. We have people come over and they're like, there's a lot of animals here. But we just grew up loving pets so much. So Adam didn't really have pets growing up. In my senior year of college, I got a stress fracture in my kneecap and I couldn't run the NCAA indoor meet. And we decided to go drive to Kansas to get this cat. His name was Simba. And we
Wow.
worshipped that cat. And about a year later, we got Ellie, who is like the love of my life, another Burmese cat for him to have as a sibling.
Uh-huh.
And so we were just cat people for a really long time. Our cats were even in Runner's World, Simba and Ellie. But the boys have wanted it. Like since Colt was little, he wanted a dog, and Adam always wanted a dog. And I was like, we travel all the time. We can leave the cats. It's easy. So anyway, Simba passed away when I was training for the Olympic trials, the 2016 trials. And it was hard. Like
That is hard.
I would be at running. I would just start crying.
Yeah.
And it was like so crazy. Like I'd be running with Jenny Simpson, who has a dog now, but had no pets then. And I just go,
no
I'm
grid.
sorry. And she'd be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, Simba, you know, but it was so heavy for me. And so anyway, I had promised the boys that after the Olympics, we could get a dog. And Des, I kid you not, we are flying home from the Olympic trials where I got fourth. It hurts. And Colt goes, Mommy, since you're not going to the Olympics, can we get a dog?
Do it now?
Yeah. And I was like, you little bastard. And a week later, we got Freya.
Aww.
So that's how all that happened. And I didn't want to get a puppy because there's so much work.
Yeah.
But we went to the Humane Society, and Colt and I had gone and visited a couple dogs that just needed a family during the week, but Adam hadn't gone with us. So we went on the weekend to go visit those dogs that we had looked at, and they had gotten a litter of puppies in, like literally the night before. And Adam gets in line for a puppy. He gets Freya. And I remember I took a picture of her and sent it to her mom, and I go, we're having a play date with a puppy, but I'm not going to touch it because it's so cute, and then I'm going to want it. And then the lady comes out and she goes, okay, well, there's other people who are interested in her. So if you don't want to adopt her, I'm going to bring her to someone else. And Adam's like, well, if we adopted her, when could we go home with her? And she was like, right now.
Please
and then
leave.
both of them, and then Adam goes, well, it's up to Kara. And Colt's like Disney eyes, you know? And I was like, damn it. So yeah, she came home with us right then and there. And she's been amazing. I mean, I love her so much. And I'm so
Good
glad
puppy?
we had her as a puppy. Yeah. I mean, she's a puppy, right? So there was a lot of peeing and pooping, and
that's what they do.
Yeah, Adam and I would fight so much.
Teething.
Teething. Yeah, she ate our remotes and all that stuff. But I mean, God, I love her so much.
How big is she? She looks pretty small.
She used to be huge. She was quite an overweight dog for a little while, but now she's like high 40s. So Freya was from the Humane Society, donation dog. And she does have $10,000 of knees now because she's had the knee surgery on both of her hind legs twice, or each one, and they're each $5,000. So
is that the kind of TPLO or whatever? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've had one of those.
Oh, okay.
For Little Boston, yeah.
How
did she respond? Was she like quick recovery, or was it?
No, it was so
slow.
Off. Yeah, it was slow, and it was like it was overwhelming how long it took for her to recover. And she had just gotten the go ahead that she could be off leash and run around. And then she tore the other one.
Of course.
And we had to wait till we were home, right? Because it's like a good few months of getting them ready. Like she had to be carried in and out of the house for weeks. So we had to wait almost a full year before we could do the other one. And she was so depressed as she gained all this weight. She'd just sit in the window and be so depressed. But when she recovered from the second one, it was like she was so happy. She shed all that weight, and she was back to being super active. And she seems so much younger because she was so happy.
She's happy.
Yeah.
Is she a running dog? Does she run with you?
Yeah, she used to. So she still runs. Yeah. She kind of doesn't like to go any farther than 4 miles now. When she was younger, she could go about 8 miles was about her max. But when I after we got her, I would run with her on all my doubles. I loved it. We'd run in the afternoon together, and she just so cute. We have a running leash. I'm sure you have one. And she just would get so excited, you know? Yeah. And so I still run her and Luna on my short run days, which are most of my days actually. But I did really love that time of running with her in the afternoon. It'd be like, before I had to make dinner, we'd go out for a 30 or 40 minute run, and she'd be waiting all day, you know, so excited. What about you? Do you run with your dogs?
Was that enough to put her she's good the rest of the day?
Yeah. I mean, she used to just hang out in the yard all day and chase things around. And where now we don't do that because she and Luna set each other off, and they just bark all day long. It's really annoying. So we got a Boston Terrier, and we were told they don't bark and they hate and they don't like exercise. Well, we have a Boston that you have to run her every single day or she's out of control and she barks like crazy.
Love it.
So we got lied to a little bit.
We have a golden named Boston who big golden energy going all the time. And he has gone up to 12, I think.
Wow.
12 miles. He's a really small, like light golden. So he's a hunting dog as well. So he's running quite a bit doing that if we take him out to the field. But he runs up to 12 and we have a few places where we can go off leash and like there's no cars and there's just like not a lot of people ever. So he's probably getting more by doing the zigzagging and the whole thing. And then we run along the Lake Michigan quite often. So that's like trail. He's doing all of that stuff. And then the other side of it is he'll go get some water and then he'll go swim and then he'll come run and then he'll run on the trails and then he'll go swim. So he's like, he has to go 4 miles pretty much every day to like be normal in the house. And then as summer goes along, he gets in shape. So like,
then you have to go farther.
Yeah, it's got to be more and more. And then he comes back and he has to swim longer. So it's like good and bad because he really does get in shape. But a couple years ago, it might have been last year, he had just come off his knee surgery. He had one and that was really hard for him. And then he went, we go down to Phoenix for a good stretch. So he was at the club. It's like, it's a hunt club, but it's the kennel. And he was there. He wasn't running as much. They were feeding him his normal, portions, but we got him back and we're like, holy shit. So he's husky. And then we had him for like a week and then we took him back to the kennel because we had to go on another trip. And the trainer was like, wow, he's really put on a lot of weight. And we're like, well, he's been with you.
Right.
So maybe we can dial that in. And he was like kind of sad. You could tell I feel like he was body conscious.
Yeah, I feel like Freya was too. Like
Yeah.
she was like, I remember we had professional photos taken here in Minnesota. And when we got the photos back, we were like, holy cow. She's like such a chunk. And now she doesn't look anything like that anymore. But how was the surgery for Boston?
It was good. It was, he only needed one, which is always the risk because they like compensate and then you have to be super careful. But he's not a big tantrum guy, but he had a few meltdowns where like I would take him out to go to the bathroom and he would just lay on the ground and like just be like, drag me in. I'm like, I can't lift you, buddy. Like you're kind of heavy. But it's when he was on medication. So he was just like done.
Yeah.
But wait, you said you took professional photos. Was it like Christmas card or was it like for your animal?
No, it wasn't for the animal. Well, actually, okay. Well, this situation I was talking about, my sister, we were all in Minnesota at the same time. So we did professional, big family, and then each family did them. And of course, we had driven out here, so we had Freya with us. And so then we did a big photo shoot with her and Colt because she sleeps with Colt. They're best friends. They are like addicted to each other. But one time we did have this woman came to like take pictures of our house for our builder for their website. And she's like, your dog is so cute. She's like, do you want me to photograph her? And we were like, yes. So we had her like posing on the deck and all this. We're pretty obsessed with our animals over here.
Well, yeah. I asked that, and this isn't something I did, but this is something we have. We got it as a gift. I'm gonna bring down this monster painting.
Oh yeah, I need to see.
So fill the time here while I step away a second.
Okay. I think that all of our listeners will agree that finding out that Des is such an animal softie is amazing because she doesn't necessarily give that persona. Oh my gosh. Oh.
So that's Atlas, and that was a gift.
Oh, it's a painting?
It's a painting, and it stays in this room. I do have a pretty good photo of him too, so we're obviously obsessed. But I thought that was like it's actually cute, but it's
huge.
Also hilarious.
It's amazing.
It's really big.
Okay, so here's a really personal question.
Okay.
When Atlas passed, did you have him cremated?
Yes.
And then what did you do with the ashes?
Nothing. They do that's the worst. So they do you can get individual ones, or you can just do the bulk.
Mm-hmm.
But we got we didn't get ashes back. We got they do a paw print.
Oh yeah,
and plaster. So we have that, and it's at home in the bag. And neither Ryan or I have opened it because we're just this is going to unlock some stuff.
Okay, so just so you know, we have the ashes of all of our pets.
Okay.
And we lost a cat in a really horrible way. It's like even hard for me to talk about. It went into the dryer. It was like so horrific.
Oh.
And we were waiting for the ground to thaw to bury Jack. And we had Simba's ashes, and Ellie was still alive. We were going to bury Jack and Simba together. And Adam dug a hole and everything, and then we just couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. And Jack had been in a freezer for like 8 months, and my friend ended up taking Jack in for me and having him cremated. So we have Simba, Ellie, and Jack ashes just sitting in our house. We couldn't do it. Adam was like, well, what if we move? We're not going to live here forever. And I mean, I didn't need any persuading. I was like, Ellie was the love of my life animal wise. And I'm like, she wasn't dead yet, but I was like, I'll never get rid of her ashes. Like she goes with me in the grave. You bury her with me.
Like this in my right hand and then my other one in my left hand.
Yeah. So That's we fair. Have little we have Colt has Jack's ashes in his room. I have Ellie in my underwear drawer, and Adam has Simba in one of his drawers. We're so weird.
No, whatever it takes. I think if I were to do it again, I probably would get Atlas's ashes, and then I would put him in Lake Michigan. Because that's a thing. It. Yeah. But one of our good friends sent a tree, like a small, like that you plant a tree, and I thought that was really nice. Like he's like, oh, we always do that when one of our pets passes. So it's in our garage in a box. We need to put it into the ground, but we have an Atlas tree.
That's cool. So are you hoping that Rivers will be a runner too?
I think so. I mean, he'll be bigger. He'll probably go up to 4 miles. Atlas was like up to 4 miles. And then he already has this little Atlas trait where Atlas, we would do out and backs. And as soon as he hit the halfway point, like he's a negative split guy. He would hammer all the way home, and he could run, like under 6 minutes for those last 2 miles. Like he was like, get me home.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if it was just like back to home base or like maybe I'm going to get some food or get to go for a swim. But this guy apparently has been doing that. I was finishing up my long run the other day, and Ryan was out walking him, and he started chasing me for the last like half mile of my long run.
Oh,
Ryan, he's a baby. Like, make him slow down.
He can't do this yet.
Yeah, totally.
That's so cute. Okay, so somebody asked me, when you were on your book tour this year, seemed like you had one of your dogs with you. Which dog was that?
That was Boston. So we probably did this all wrong, but it was right after we had put Atlas down. And we're like, we just need to make sure he's busy and he's happy. But I think you're supposed to get him comfortable with the new situation. Instead, we were like, we'll just mix him up and take him different places. And maybe he won't even notice.
So wait, did you drive him? Someone asked me, she was like,
yeah.
I mean, it's Des Linden. She probably just gets a seat on the plane for her dog, but could you ask her? And I was like, I'm pretty sure they're driving the dog.
Yeah, this is even worse. I didn't drive because like, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
But I had to be in Boston for 2 separate trips that were like 6 days apart. So I just stayed out there with a friend, and Ryan, they're really nice. They're like, bring your dog, like he can hang out, and goes to the beach and the whole thing. So Ryan drove him out. And then we were leaving, and I still had New York. Like New York City was the next stop. And he's like, well, I'll drive through that way and just like make it a little bit longer trip, but we'll meet you up there. So he went, like, he stayed at the Westin in Detroit. He stayed at the Fairmont in Boston at a friend's house. And then he stayed at the Thompson House in New York City. It's like kind of hoity-toity.
Yeah, house,
Boston.
Like, elite status right there.
Yeah, it's traveling man. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you would go to train, you would leave your dogs at the kennel if you were like going to a place. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for the most part. A couple years ago, this was before the 2016 trials, must have been. We trained down in Florida, and Brian and I found a place that was dog friendly, and it had a pool, and we brought our Golden Miles down and Atlas. And they would like go in the pool every day. It was like super covered in hair. Like, this is fine for sure. But they loved it. Like they were in the pool every day. Like at first we're like, don't go in. We don't want you guys to even know what this is. And then like Atlas is just a water dog. So if you've ever seen a dog like it bred for something, or like this like instinctive pull towards the water was for real. And so he would like hover over the water, like on the jacuzzi, like pause here and like he's gonna fall in for sure. And like he was just setting himself up to be in the water,
Right.
but still obeying us.
He was like,
right?
oh,
Like,
whoops.
yeah, exactly. And then he got in and he was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, get me out. Good luck.
Oh.
So.
And then do they sleep with you?
I'm not a fan of this. And Atlas, he was such a grump. Like, he would, but he would be really mean. Like, if you nudged him in the night, he would like growl at your feet. I'm like, I swear to God, if he bites my feet while I'm sleeping, I'm like, so that was a special occasion for him.
Mm-hmm.
Boston gets whatever he wants. He's so spoiled. And he, literally the other day, Ryan got up and he was on Ryan's pillow, upside down on his back, and like rolled over, and I'm like, Boston's face is like, oh, you're so fuzzy and hairy.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be in here. How about you?
Oh yeah, I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I can't kick them out of the bed. Nope. Freya does sleep with Colt,
okay,
which is good because she's a little bit bigger. And then Luna has a little bed at the foot of our bed, and then there's another bed next to her bed for the cats.
Okay.
But typically I wake up and all three of them are on me. Yeah. And Adam just kicks them, but I just can't do it. I can't. I'm like, oh, they're so cute and they love me. They're touching me. So yeah. And then he'll be like, well, don't complain about not sleeping well. And it's like a whole thing. But yeah, they sleep.
Do you guys, this is gross, but do you get ticks up there?
Oh yeah. Yes.
That's like my fear. I'm like, don't you bring one of those in here.
And we found them. Yeah. It's so disgusting. So the ticks at this point of the season are pretty much done. Not that you can't get one, but the first like month here, it's nonstop. We would tick check them every time they come inside, and they'd always have one. And there was 2 nights where we're putting Colt to bed, and a tick was like on his bedspread. Yeah, and we're like, ah! I hate ticks so much, and they're so small, but they just terrify me. And they weren't here when I was younger. We didn't have them. Yeah, my mom and I were just talking about there were no ticks here. It was nothing I ever worried about. And now it's like, yeah, for the first month for sure, it's like tick check nonstop. And yeah, there was one on Freya and it hadn't attached to her yet, but you could just see it going, like, trying to fight through her
the desperation.
Yeah. It was so disgusting. We're all screaming. And then the boys like to put them in tape and then squish them with their knuckles. So yeah, ticks are an issue here. Are they an issue there?
They are. They're disgusting, and that's the only reason I'm like, I don't really want the dogs in the bed.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Somewhere else.
the terror of seeing a tick crawl on your bed, like it hasn't happened on our bed yet. I'm sure it hasn't. We just didn't know. But it was twice this summer on Colt's bed, and I was like, "There's no way he's going to be able to sleep now." You know, I'm like, "Good night."
Yeah. Just like staying up,
yeah,
freaking out.
Yeah,
yeah. Those are the worst. That's like the downside. But small price to pay.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And like, I mean, are your dogs allowed on the furniture?
Rivers right now doesn't know anything about anything. So he's like seeing what Boston does, and they have a funny dynamic. Like, he loves Boston. He wants to kiss his face. He's like, this guy's great. He wants to chase his tail. And Boston, we thought would be really excited to have a friend. And he's like, get away from me. Like, don't bother me. So Boston now goes on the couch because the little guy hasn't got enough oomph to get up there.
He'll wear down. He'll wear Boston down.
He will. He's going to. But it's kind of sad because Boston's really skittish because his older brother Atlas used to push him around like he was big alpha. So like he doesn't necessarily love Rivers, and he's like kind of afraid of him.
Oh,
like, this is your time to push back because
right.
pretty soon he's going to be huge, and
right.
then you're definitely going to get pushed around. But this guy, the little guy, seems sweet. Like, our other dog was just kind of nasty.
I love that you're a dog parent. They're the best.
That's our thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm like, I can never be a parent. I was telling someone this the other day, like the first week we had Boston. Maybe I told you. Hopefully I didn't tell this on the pod already. But like, it was like the first or second week, Ryan was going out of town. I had Boston. My sister was here. It's like, I'm going to make us coffee. We'll go sit on the deck, relax. We'll like put him on the leash, like walked in the house to turn on the hot water. Swear to God, it was like 25 seconds max. Walked back out, and he had walked off the edge of the deck, and he's just like dangling. I'm like, holy shit! Like, have to pull the dog up. Like, he didn't like break his neck or anything. It was a small drop, but he found a way to like almost hang himself in the 25 seconds that I had him alone. I'm like, okay, not fit for parenting.
I actually think that kids are easier because you can just bring your kid anywhere and it's acceptable, but you can't bring your dog everywhere. We didn't have dogs for so long. I thought I didn't really like dogs. After we had Freya for, I don't know, maybe a year, I got really sick and I found out I was allergic to dogs. So maybe like psychologically, that's why I never really was into dogs, even though I grew up with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vet or my doctor was like, would you feel comfortable rehoming your dog? And I'm like, no, we are in love with this dog. Like, what's the other solution? Because I'm not getting rid of this dog. But there's something about like having to leave them and worrying about letting them out to go to the bathroom. That is, I feel like is harder than a child, just so you know.
Good tip. Good info. Good info there. Yeah. Yeah, I wish that you knew what they were thinking too.
I know.
That's tough. I guess babies, you can't, but
no. Well, not when they're little. Yeah, you're just like, are you alive? Are you happy? What's happening? I will say the thing I love about our cats and our dogs is just the love, right? Like you come home from a bad race or a workout and they're just so happy to see you and they don't care. And I find them to be super de-stressing, unless of course they're like throwing up in the middle of the night or something like that.
Yeah, totally. That's like the great meme of like, what will get you out of bed quicker than your alarm or the snooze, like not having the snooze button will just be like the sound of your dog getting ready to vomit.
Adam and I will be like,
right. No snooze. If that was just your alarm clock, you'd be like every day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, have we talked about our pets enough?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we could probably talk about them forever, but I feel like we don't want to lose too many followers.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking with us if you're not an animal lover.
Yeah.
But we are, so. And just so you know, we are going to have Rivers on a future episode.
Yeah, he's getting shots today.
Oh. You're like, whatever. He's fine.
He's fine.
Okay, so are we going to say our top 5 things of the week?
Let's start that next one.
Okay.
Let's do that. So we'll keep the people, anybody who was on the fence about ever returning to the podcast, because all we talk about are our pets, will want to come back for top 5 next week. Don't give up on us just yet.
So yeah, here's our bottom line from the episode today. Hate is going to hate. Dogs are the answer.
It's a t-shirt. Make it a bumper sticker.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.